So when I was in college and I was taking my physical anthropology classes, um, now granted this was a long time ago, but from what I remember, there was a lot of talk about how human evolution it was either slowing or changing depending on who you asked for their theory. But people were talking about how due to the fact that we've created this technology that makes the world around us safer and more comfortable for us overall, than way back, like, you know, before we built society the way that it is, we have, at least for large segments of the population, largely eliminated or reduced natural selection pressures on those populations. You're not going to get like picked off by a predator when you're, wandering through the woods, more than likely, near your house, like the park or something. Um, and I think that's very true, but I also think, and I agree with the people who said that to some degree at least, what those natural selection pressures are is changing. Like, for instance, today, being the biggest and the strongest and the fastest and the most aggressive may not be the best option to get a mate and have a successful opportunity at breeding, just from a surely biological evolutionary perspective. It may be, and this is just an example, for instance, that being a charming and good looking actor gets you more potential to pass on your lineage. It may be that being a really intelligent CEO or something gets you that potential. It may be that being a caring, empathetic, emotionally intelligent human being who is willing to be an equal partner with another human being in child rearing and building a life together, maybe that gets you a higher shot at passing on your genetic lineage. So, and I'm just using these as examples. I mean, it's a very complex issue, but I feel that in a lot of ways, the pressures of natural selection that determine the genetic drift and the evolution, I'm sorry, not genetic drift, but the genetic direction and the evolution of the species have changed a great deal to more perhaps psychological and sociological uh, pressures than just necessarily physical pressures or even intelligence pressures just by themselves. Um, and so I think when you look at the declining birth rates and like the male loneliness epidemic in light of that frame, you can kind of see how that is actually playing out in those. Women are showing higher standards in what they expect from a mate, and a large percentage of the population is simply refusing to acknowledge that or to meet those standards, which is definitely their choice. They can live life how they want to. But as a result of that, those segments of the population, many of whom value things like physicality and dominance, are slowly losing their genetic superiority. Now, this is just my theory, but so I think that can explain a lot about, for instance, the male loneliness epidemic, because the social expectations are changing for what is required to become a valued mate. And those who are unwilling or unable to adapt to that will have a lower chance of having a relationship or a marriage or whatever, especially as those social standards continue to change, because we're just seeing the beginning of it now. And I think that on some level, those men are starting to realize their obsolescence, and it's enraging to them.